Hi everyone, it's Tatiana here. I am going to do some information regarding preeclampsia. So, while I was pregnant, I experienced preeclampsia. During my second trimester, I noticed that I had a good amount of swelling, but they said that was normal during pregnancy. When I would go into the office, my blood pressures were fine and my urine samples were okay. Getting towards, I was like 31 weeks. I remember one evening I had woke up, I had a really bad headache, and my feet were more swollen than normal. I had already bought a blood pressure cuff to help with me for work, so I can have my own personal cuff for my patients, but I had never used it. Well, that particular night it came in handy. My blood pressures were in the 200s over 100. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. My blood pressures were systolically 200, diastolically in the hundreds. I thought it was because I ate some salty pizza the night before, but no. I think it was the preeclampsia coming on. That was the first manifestation of it that I was able to recognize. So what we did was I took some Tylenol, went to sleep. I didn't know. I was so tired. I had been to work the day before. Just wasn't thinking. I was like, maybe once I relax some, and I felt like I had to vomit because of the pizza, the different meats on it just didn't agree with my stomach. Um, I was just thinking maybe, that was just the food. I called in to work, laid in bed, got up earlier that day. My blood pressure was still higher than normal. So I just kept checking it, kept watching it. My friend kept urging me to go to urgent care. Me being a healthcare provider, which are the hardest people to take care of, I kept saying, no, I'm okay. I don't need to go. My blood pressure's going down. I'm fine. I don't feel bad. I'm just going to rest, keep my feet up. The swelling went down in my feet, and my blood pressure started to go down. I had a visit that following week in like a few days. So what I did was I informed my midwife of what happened, and she just looked at me like this. And I was like, should I have went to the hospital? She was like, yes. So she said, give me 1 second. She went out and checked what my blood pressure had trended before and seen what it was that day. She said, okay, I didn't see any protein in your urine, but that's something I'm going to monitor for. She said, there are two things that could be happening to you right now. You can have pregnancy-induced hypertension, which is an increase in your blood pressure during the time when you're pregnant, and it'll go away eventually. However, it can be a sign that you are having preeclampsia to come, and with something else we have to monitor more closely because preeclampsia turns into eclampsia, and that is life-threatening. Preeclampsia manifests itself as hypertension. It manifests itself as protein in the urine and swelling of just anywhere, basically, generally everywhere, is what I experienced. So, what we did was, as I got closer to deliver, I did a 24-hour urine, which is collection of urine for 24 hours. You urinate, you dump the first urine, and you collect every urination afterwards until you've passed the 24-hour mark. Once you get to the 24-hour mark, you take the collection specimen to whatever your healthcare provider has destined for you, whether it's her office or to a lab. You have to keep it on ice and keep it cold during that whole 24-hour period. What they did was gave me a specimen collector. I urinated in there each time, which helped me deposit it into the container a lot easier. So I did that one time. My levels were high, but higher than normal, I would say, but not to the point where she wanted to induce me at that current moment. So we kept turning the blood pressure. She did not want to put me on blood pressure medication at the time since I had not had an issue with hypertension prior to pregnancy. She wanted to be able to mark hypertension or hypertensive episode occurring to mark if I was having some increase in damage to the organs, which were my liver and kidney, which were some of the labs she drew on me as well to determine. So she drew a BMP, which is a basic metabolic profile, which shows you what your electrolytes are and your kidney function. And she also drew ALT, which is to show your liver function. So we did those two things, and that gave us a baseline for where we were, which lets me know where I am right now, which before I was normal. So if there was any increase in it, she knows that there was a change. I would say at 30, 35, 36 weeks, I repeated that. At one point, I believe I was at 34 weeks. She told me I couldn't go to work anymore. At first, she said I can go 8 hours. She told me no more after that because my blood pressures were not sustaining. They were still elevated. I still had the increased swelling. And she was just nervous for me to have the increased stress and walking, that it would just cause an issue. So I couldn't go back to work. So I was out about a month earlier than I planned on. So glad that I was planning things ahead of time. When it comes to like my financial state, when it comes to planning for my baby shower, I wish I would have done my baby shower when I wanted to at 5 or 6 months, because I had a lot more energy then and I didn't have these issues coming at this time. So if you're going to plan your baby shower, plan it when you want to. Don't let anybody else talk you into when it should happen. Plan it when it's best for you, and those who love you will show up for you, and go from there. Or if you don't want to do a baby shower, you could do something where they just do your registry online or somewhere and let them buy it and send it to your house, which would have been way easier for me. But anywho, went and did the second 24-hour urine, and when I did the 24-hour urine this time, I got a call. Let's see, I did the 24-hour urine starting on a Sunday morning, ended on a Monday morning. When I completed it, I went to take it into the office. The office sent it to the lab. Tuesday morning, she called me, kind of panicked, telling me, I'm going to have to induce you on the 37-week mark. That's exactly what I'm going to do. And come in today. I need to see you at 1 o'clock. And it just freaked me out. So another thing she was looking for was to see if I was seeing like spotters and flashes of light, which I was not seeing at that particular time. But my urine levels had increased like significantly. My urine protein levels were severely elevated. My liver enzyme levels had elevated, and my blood pressures had not changed. So it's not bed rest, but I couldn't do any strenuous activity. I stayed in bed most of the day. I tried to keep myself hydrated and drink lots of water. At that particular point in time, I started having Braxton Hicks contractions. And one concern she had with inducing me, this being my first baby, was that my cervix would not dilate quickly enough and she may have to do a cesarean, which was a big worry for me because I did not want to have surgery. However, that ended up not being a problem. At 37-week mark, she induced me. I still had the protein in my urine, the hypertension, and the increased swelling, which all were signs of preeclampsia. The protein in urine indicator was at a certain level to where if I crossed it, it would be eclampsia. When I went the morning of getting induced, the night before, I had started seeing those flashes of light. And I couldn't really sleep because I was nervous about making sure I had everything together, making sure my baby bag was together, making sure my car seat was in the car. I just couldn't like settle. So I was just all over the place. So with that, I went ahead and got induced that morning. When I got there, my blood pressures were systolically in the 170s, 180s, over hundreds. She came in, again panicked. We changed the blood pressure cuff to be something more accommodating to my swollen extremities. The blood pressure was still really high, but she was higher. She was, number one, happy with the fact that I was there in the hospital and it was in a controlled environment. Number two, she was watching and monitoring more closely so that if I did experience the signs of eclampsia, they have the medications ordered and ready for it. During the time of induction, my blood pressure significantly went down after I was receiving some pain medications. But again, we have to continue to monitor up to 6 weeks postpartum. Now, I continue to have the issues with the blood pressure. So I got started on a medication called Procardia, which has different signs and symptoms that I am watching out for. But currently at this time, it is helping me maintain my blood pressure at an acceptable level. And I may have to follow up with the primary care provider until they drop on their own. Sometimes when people lose when people lose weight, their blood pressure go down, or when they gain weight, their blood pressure will elevate depending on their lineage or family history or whatnot. But however, for me, I had never had hypertension. And I only have two people in my family that have it. It's my dad's parents. So, I didn't ever think I would have that, but now I do. And I'm going to have to follow up the primary care provider to make sure that this is what's going to work for me right now. I will continue to initiate weight loss and working out as I try to manage my newborn and myself, and just try my best to get rest and just manage my blood pressure now. Last two visits at my 3-week and 6-week, we checked the protein in my urine. It was negative. The swelling had immensely gone down. By my 3-week appointment, I had lost like 20 pounds. And I know that the loss of that weight was due to loss of fluid, the baby, the placenta, things like that, breastfeeding, which helped a whole lot. And then at my next visit, I lost a significant amount of water as well. I still noticed some swelling in my lower extremity still, and some in my tummy. Um, and I still have a considerable amount of weight to lose after this baby. However, um, the risk of preeclampsia has decreased significantly right now, which is very scary to be at risk for your body going from preeclampsia, which is the hypertension, protein in your urine, and the sudden swelling of the hands, face, feet, generally anywhere. And then you have eclampsia, which is the point where your protein levels have increased to the point where you are having seizures. So, yeah, I was trying to not have that occur. Trying to eat as healthy as possible. Stay